Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests. Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher, and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn,
you get up, you dress up, and you fucking show up.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Xavier Miller joins me, mate. Thank you very much for having me down your gym. It's a pleasure. First time here for myself. How are we today?
I'm good, busy gym. Got a lot of good fighters in. Looking forward to a couple of debuts coming up as well. So, gym's doing really well.
Yeah, gym's flying at the minute. Like you said, busy gym. Mate, Jesse, I felt quite sorry for him. I know he's kind of at that stage of camp where the fight's coming soon. My guy got ran into the ground. Yeah,
he's got well. There's three of us coaching at the moment, boxing coaches. That's me, Nick, and Junior Saba. And he's working hard. We wanted to up the work rate. We want to work at a high pace. That was the reason to bring Junior in. And they've clicked and it's working really well.
Yeah. Last time out, he got that knockout, and I'm guessing it kind of just, for the people who saw it, just pushed kind of his name forward a little bit. I know one of our boys spoke to you two before, and he said, "I'm a superstar. You just haven't seen it yet." I feel like we kind of saw that flash that night in March. Really good performance that was.
Yeah, and it's something that he really wanted after his debut. He looked really good in his debut. He had a massive crowd coming out. At least I think he sold about 260, 270 tickets. And he said the one thing that was missing was a knockout. He really wanted it, and that was the whole plan actually for the whole game plan. Was he wanted to find ways to find a way to lay the guy out. He spoke about it, and picked the right shot at the right time, and it looked spectacular doing it. I always knew he was special. I've known Jesse for a very, very long time, because obviously I had my own amateurs, and Finchley's very close to where we are, and we're always going to the same shows, and me and Jesse live quite close to each other as well. So I've always encouraged him, say, I hope you're still going training, going to the gym, and when he turned pro, he came down here, and Sean Murphy said, Zav will be a good fit for you. So I'm glad to have Jesse joining the stable. Really happy about it.
Yeah, July 21st, we get to see him in action again up in Scotland. On Kamar, so I've known Omar. I've known Omar a few years now, obviously. Change of scenery for him, change of team for him, and a few things that need to be drilled.
As coaches, not all, but a lot of coaches get their name from working with fighters that are already established, either former world champions or decorated amateurs, coming through a GB squad. But that's not what I got into boxing for. I wanted to be known for building guys early in their career, if that means going through the amateur system and then turning pro with us, or being there with guys from their debut. That's the thing that excites me the most. And Omar, he's come here 7-0, and he's got quite a few bad habits that we need to iron out, we need to work on. But he's a really, really good prospect. He's got good power, he's athletic, and he really wants to learn. And I'm glad. And obviously got Kasim as well, his brother's here, and he'll be having his debut, so I'll get a chance to build him from scratch, which again excites me more than anything else. But Omar's out. It's going to be on Dean's show, Black Box show, so really looking forward to that, and looking for a good performance. I want to, at some point early next year, he should be fighting for his first title. Should be going for a Southern Area belt.
Yeah, it was interesting for me, kind of watching you do the pads out there, because it was like you were stopping, telling him what to do, and it kind of never got into too much of a flow, and it was interesting for me to see that. And then I said to you about how much do you try and change someone's style, because he has got that freestyle ability. Mm-hmm. And you said in a fight you still need to keep that. You can't just completely switch a fighter up because they are who they are. Mm-hmm. But it's taking the fundamentals out and still keeping that kind of fresh and excitingness that he does have.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part. I think a lot of coaches, the mistake they make is they get a fighter who comes into their gym and does make a lot of fundamental mistakes, and then you kind of strip away everything they do. That's not really the way to do it. It's to try and tide up what he already does. He's already confident in the way he boxes, but he does make some mistakes here and there that do need to be tied up. More than likely can still get away with it for the next 2-3 fights, but it's after that is the problem. So you've got to work on those things from now. And, as long as he's here regularly and he does what I tell him, in the next, like I said, next 6, 7, 8 months, should be to fight for his first title, because once you do start going into titles, you do move up quite quickly. Southern area, English, British, once the train starts going, it doesn't stop. So you've got to kind of get things right now. You can't try to fix it later.
Yeah, July 29th, Dean White show in Tolworth for Omar. Just talking about the gym, especially Jesse, is there kind of a little thing going on at the moment? Jesse, Finchley, boys of AJ, of course your boys of Dillian. Have you got that kind of in-gym rivalry going on at the moment?
Yeah, with Dillian, me and Dillian, we bump heads sometimes, but he's like family to me. I spent 2.5 years out with him in Portugal, and we became really close. We worked really hard out there, and it doesn't matter who Dillian's fighting. I'm always going to be rooting for Dillian. He's got so much heart, so much character, and I just want to see him do well. So I would always side with him over anybody. I don't know Joshua like that. It's more of a high and buy thing. We know of each other, but I don't have a relationship like that like I do with Dillian. It's the opposite for Jesse. Jesse and AJ used to train at the same gym for years under Sean Murphy, so they're very close. And even though Jesse's now come here, AJ's a phone call away for Jesse. He'll help him out with anything. So yeah, there's a rivalry in the gym between who we support. But Jesse also came out to Portugal when I was training Dillian, and he really likes Dillian. He's got a lot of respect for him. He saw how hard he works. But yeah, Jesse's got his guy, and I got mine. So yeah, but it's going to be an interesting fight, and I think the fight's come along at the right time to this year.
Yeah, when I spoke to Jesse, he did say being around Dillian, he trains like a maniac. The press conference yesterday, I know you saw a little bit of it. Very different to what we got in 2015, but different people at different stages of their life, I guess.
Yeah, I think time waits for no one. Everyone matures over time, and I think that's exactly what's happened here. You can tell the way they both speak. It's not the young kids that fought each other the first time round, but that's not to say it's not going to be as explosive, as competitive. I think it will be. I think it's going to be a great fight. They've got two very, very good trainers, two trainers that I've got a lot of respect for. I actually spoke about Buddy McGirt a good 2-3 years ago because we were building a team. He's a guy I've always a lot of respect for because everyone knows me in boxing, knows that my history and understanding of boxing goes back a long, long way. Because I used to collect Betamax and VHS tapes, which most people will not understand because it's all like online now. But I've got like 400 like VHS videos. That's like 3-4 hours each tape. So a lot of these guys I've already got on VHS. So when you bring up a name to me, I'm very, very familiar with them. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for for Buddy, and I think his temperament and the way he trains fighters really, really will suit Dillian. I like what he done with Gatti, with Kovalev. And I think at this stage in his career, we can't knock Dillian for choosing to go out to America and train with Buddy. I mean, like I said, every boxer gets one career, and you should not. It's up to you what you do during your career because you don't want to have any regrets. So I've always supported Dillian. I supported Dillian even before I'd even met him and started training him. So because I went to obviously a lot of the big fights, the Parker fight I was at because I was working in Derek Chisora's corner with Don. I think Chisora was fighting Takam, so we were watching it backstage, and I was like as the fight was going on, I was jumping up and down, saying, "Yeah, just box, finish the fight." So I've always been a fan of Dillian, and I've always been a fan of Joshua as well. I mean, Joshua, we've always crossed paths because we don't live that far from each other. So I knew a much younger version of Joshua, but yeah, a lot of respect for him as well. I mean, he's overachieved, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight.
Yeah. You think we're looking at two fighters who you can kind of say overachieved in a certain sense? Yes, Anthony Joshua was an Olympic gold medalist, but you look at perhaps the finances that he will manage to walk away from the sport with, a two-time world champion. And Dillian White, I suppose you can perhaps attribute it back to the first fight in 2015 where he played the perfect pantomime villain when Joshua was kind of everyone's sweetheart, walked away, and what's he done? 6 pay-per-views, headlined arenas, fought for a world title. Do you think you're kind of looking at two overachievers in that sense?
100%. I mean, with Dillian only having maybe 7 amateur fights, what he's gone on to do is extraordinary. I mean, a lot of the guys in my gym, they've had like 40, 50 amateur fights. and they haven't achieved anything near what Dillian's achieved. So, it goes to show you, if you really want it bad enough and you work hard enough and you are willing to take the tough fights, take the tough route, if you haven't had that kind of pedigree, what you can go on to do. I remember we were in camp one time, and me and Harold Knight were talking about her ex heavyweight champions and which ones didn't have an amateur pedigree and went on to maybe win a world title. And there was only a couple. There wasn't many at all. We had to do. I remember a lot of things. He remembered a lot of things, but there was one or two we were like going back and forth with. So what Dillian's gone on to achieve is amazing. And even with Joshua, I think he started quite late. He's not like someone who started in single digits. Most guys that have gone to be elite level, they started like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So what Josh has gone on to do, being a 2-time world champion, he's overachieved. And it's good. It's good for the other guys in and around boxing to see what they've achieved in their careers and what they're still doing now, because they're still in big fights. And look how quickly the fight sold out. People are still interested. People can have their opinions about where the guys are in their career, but what other fights are going to sell out in a couple of hours, like in the UK. So just applaud both of them.
Do you understand Joshua's thinking of kind of filling that hole of inactivity, providing, or say we're presuming he is to fight Deontay Wilder in Saudi Arabia end of the year, start of next year? Do you understand his perspective of filling that hole of inactivity and not waiting it out?
Every boxer's different. We've had fighters that have been out of the ring for 12 months, 18 months, and they're still able to come back and look the same. Other guys, they need to be consistent, need to box regularly. I think for Dillian and Joshua, I think they do need to box regularly because of when they did start boxing. It's better that they're in there. You don't learn as much, as you do when you're sparring and being active. You can do all the training, all the pad work, all the bag work, but that body-to-body contact is everything really in boxing, because you're timing. So I don't blame Joshua for taking this fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's selling out that quickly just proves it makes a lot of sense. And and for Dillian, Dillian, I've been around Dillian a long time, so I know the kind of character and person he is. He doesn't want to duck anybody. He said by the end of his career he wants to have boxed all the people in and around his era, and it looks like the both of them want to go on and do that. So respect to both.
And just one more thing on that fight. Like I said, they're different people and perhaps less naive, definitely more calm-headed. But when the bell rings, does all hell break loose?
I think
maybe not straight away, but
no. I think that fight is going to be as competitive as the first one. Yeah. They can both be calm now, but as you get closer to the fight, guys get a little bit short-tempered. They know it's almost go time, but because there's been a rivalry, because they had the amateur fight, because they've had the pro fight, I think the competition with those two is high, and I think even from early, I think there's going to be some bombs. I think they're going to test each other early, and they're both going to be a little bit more cautious because they're at that stage in their career now. You can't fight at 30, 33, 34, 35 as you did when you were 25, 24, 25. It's just natural to become more cautious as you go along with your career. And if you want to have a longer career, at certain points, you're going to have to do that. But yeah, I think with those two, it's almost like, Arsenal and Tottenham could go on a terrible run, but then when they play each other, it's different. It's a derby. So yeah, I think this would be a great fight.
Just a quick one on two more fights. Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. Just your take on how that will play out?
Wasn't that interested in that fight until I spoke to Don, and he says he's Daniel's head trainer. Because sometimes I do train down at Don's gym. I do take the pros down there. As soon as he said that, now I'm interested. Don is a very, very close friend of mine. When I was first actually getting into boxing, he was the first one to actually say to me, like, this is what you need to do. You need to look out for this person, look out for that person. And because he'd been there before I had, he embraced me like a brother. And he kind of got me ready for the pro game, and I was already coming out of the amateurs. He allowed me to join, some of the pros that he had, join the training teams, and get a lot of good experience in the corner. So anytime Don does anything, just like if Dillian's fighting anybody, I will always support Don. Fascinating fight. Usyk, I've been singing his praises for years, and simply because a lot of people were knocking him because he come from the cruiserweight division. But my favourite fighter of all time, Evander Holyfield, he was he used to go up against any heavyweight, and he came from the light heavyweight division, undisputed cruiserweight champion, and then became undisputed heavyweight champion. But he fought anybody. Always gave away height, reach, weight. But so Usyk, from what I've seen, I think he's special. The only problem is that these smaller guys, if you do catch them clean, it's going to be hard for him to it's going to be hard to take from Daniel. Daniel can really bang, he can really hit. I think it's the right time for Daniel as well. I would have said maybe a year or 2 years ago would have been too early. But you've got the WB, is it WBA regular? I think he's got. Well, like I said earlier, once you pick up a belt, to me, there's no going back. You're in the mix now. So, yeah, I'm hoping that Daniel can pull it off, for Don. And I'm looking forward to the fight. I'm probably going to be going out there as well.
You're looking forward to that fight. One punch really could change a lot when it comes to the heavyweight division. Just a quick one on Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. I'll kind of pinpoint the date. It's the Tuesday today. The fight will be announced later on, so by the time this is out, we will know. How do you kind of view that? Because I guess as WBC heavyweight world champion, your first thought should be to defend the belt. Financially, I guess it's massive. I feel like I'm kind of stuck a little bit in the middle because it will interest me and I will watch it, but it's not a world heavyweight title fight. So
I've got absolutely zero interest, to be honest with you. I'm just into boxing. I'm not really into any other sport. It's only within boxing, and I don't even really know hardly anything about the guy that they're talking about he's going to fight. I'm more interested in him fighting Usyk because I want to see an undisputed champion. These guys have got the belts. They shouldn't really be doing anything else except for fighting each other. Obviously, Usyk's got a mandatory. He's got to get through that first, but then I would expect to see, Usyk and Fury. Not really much else interests me apart from maybe seeing White beat Wilder or Joshua beat Wilder. That interests me as well. But yeah, the only fight for Fury right now to me is the Usyk fight.
Do you feel like he should be stripped of his WBC belt? Because I know Alex Krasik, obviously Usyk's manager, come out and said he feels like it's a bit disrespectful almost to be world heavyweight champion and do this, and that Tyson should be stripped.
But you see, outside of Tyson Fury, like no matter what happens, you're not going to get the credit. If he vacates now and you win the belt, they're going to say, well, it's because he vacated. So really, you want to be beating the champion. And most boxers will tell you they want to beat the champion. That's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't know. I don't really want to see him stripped because I want to see the guy. I want to see an undisputed champion. You strip him, then it's going to start getting messy again. So, yeah, no. I suppose there's not really much going on until December anyway, so let him do what he's doing.
Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests. Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher, and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn,
You get up, you dress up, and you fucking show up.